What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Screen Speak. It's the podcast that's all about movies, life, and so much more. My name's Jordan Anderson. This is my podcast, and as always, I am thankful, grateful, and appreciative of you coming by and giving this episode a listen. If you've never been here before, this is the first time you're hearing my voice, first time you've ever put the words screen and speak together, well, go ahead and do me a quick favor and hit that follow button. It takes 1 to 2 seconds tops, maybe less if you're really quick with the opposable thumbs. But please go ahead and hit that follow button and or download episodes on whatever it is that you are listening to this on. It could be Spotify, it could be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. You've heard all the podcasters out there do plugs similar to this. Mine is not really much different. I want you to listen to Screen Speak. I want you to like it, get something out of it, and keep coming back for more. So that's really what I'm trying to look for in most any episode of this podcast. So please go ahead and do that. You can also check out the podcast on its social media pages. We have Instagram. There is Threads. There is a Facebook community, though I'll be honest, it's not very active right now. I've kind of experimented with that one more than some of the other ones. But Instagram for sure is where you can find some pretty steady content coming, as well as Threads. So go ahead and follow me over there. Follow me on Instagram, of course, on, again, the podcast device that you're listening to this on. All of that. You get it, right? I think you get it. Okay. So let's go ahead. Let's just move past that and get into what this episode is all about. So the writer's strike is still going on. The writer's strike, the WGA strike, they've been on strike now for about 3+ months, I want to say. And a good while ago, about midway into the strike, I had my good friend and writer herself, Sofia Haan, on to talk about the status of the WGA strike and kind of break it down and get into all the complexities and nuance and so on and so forth. Well, Sofia's back because the WGA strike isn't just happening, but it's got some company. It's got some company in the name of SAG-AFTRA, which is the Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Associates, or something like that. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty close on that acronym. But SAG has joined the fight. They have joined the WGA strike, and it's a pretty monumental thing. I might be a little bit late in covering it because there's been plenty of other outlets out there that have been talking about this. But I certainly wanted to throw my hat into the ring, throw my opinion out there. Because I talked about it again initially before with Sofia on the WGA strike episode, and now with SAG joining in the fight, I just figure there's a lot more to talk about with this thing. We got to get into it. We got to see what the hell is going on and just kind of weigh in and again, give our 2 cents to this thing. So we talk about a lot. With the strike. We talk about the coverage of it, how it's sort of being promoted and shared with people. I would say that we do definitively state where we side on, so there's no ambiguity with that. We clearly give our opinions of where we are siding on with this whole thing. We talk about where to stay informed on the strikes, because that's always something I find to be challenging with really any topic of conversation or topic of substance that has multiple sides to it and just multiple things that make it complex. And the writers' strike, WGA strike, the SAG strike, this together, there's really no exception for that. So it's trying to find out how the hell you make sense of this thing. So we talk about that. We touched briefly on Indiana Jones being de-aged. I feel like that's something I've talked about before. Touched a little bit on the whole Barbenheimer phenomenon. I do have a full podcast that is coming out for Oppenheimer. You'll have to wait a little bit on that because I'm just doing the final prep for that because it's going to be a pretty meaty deep dive episode because I got a lot of thoughts on that movie. And I just want the episode to really just quite literally go off with a bang. Get it? Explosions, Oppenheimer, atomic bomb. Very subtle joke there. Let's see. We talk about some of the weird strike-breaking consequences that can happen with this thing. Like what happens if you cross that picket line. SAG's made it pretty clear. WGA, maybe they've made it clear, but SAG certainly has, so we get into that. What else can I tell you? I mean, I don't want to spoil the whole thing. I want to have you actually have a reason to go in and listen to this. But I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you this, and then we'll just get into the episode, okay? We'll just do it. I admit, towards the end of this thing, I got kind of fired up. And I wasn't expecting to, I don't want to say lose my composure. Like it's not like I start screaming into the microphone or something like that. But I throw a couple F-bombs out. I throw a little bit of colorful commentary, if you will, into some of my thoughts on this, because I didn't prepare this particular episode as much as I do some of the others, because I feel and I felt that my passion for this topic could really kind of carry the episode through, and combined with Sofia's insights and knowledge that she has herself as a writer and just a intelligent person, I felt like this was going to be a pretty good episode, and I think it was. But I'm letting you know right now, the F-bombs fly a couple of times. I definitely mark this as an explicitive episode. It's not like I'm saying anything that's that terrible that I would regret, or it's not, it's nothing like that. It's just, there's some cursing. So if you're an adult and you can stand it, well, then stick around and listen to the content and see what you think. But yeah, I think that's that. So I will say this, and then I swear to God, Screen Speak, we're going to get into it. I want to know what you think. Tell me what you think about the WGA strike. Tell me what you think about SAG-AFTRA. Tell me what you think about them joining forces, for that matter. Comment on whatever it is, again, that you're listening to this on. Most podcast feeds these days do have comment sections. Otherwise, plug time. Whoop! You go ahead and follow me over on social media, on the Instagram. Comment there. Send me a direct message. Whatever the hell you want to do. Send me a carrier pigeon for all I care. You can get a hold of me however which way you choose to. So I want to know what you think about this. And see, I keep saying one last thing, and then I don't shut up. Like, what the hell? You're like, are you going to get into this interview or not? Don't worry. I'm going to get there. Very fast. UAPs, UFOs. Who would have thought in 2023 is suddenly the year where this is going to take more of a prominent space in the political limelight, or the social limelight, if you will. But UAPs, or unidentified aerial phenomenons, commonly known as UFOs, but I feel like they kind of took that term. They don't want to say that term as much, because you think of the tinfoil hats and all the crazies that talk about their UFOs, conspiracy theories and whatnot. But there's been some compelling stuff that has happened really recently, and I got to admit, everybody, I have been consumed by it. Really actually strongly debating doing a podcast about the subject and doing some movie tie-ins and whatnot. I actually put the call out there on Instagram and Threads to see if people are interested in doing that. And if I get enough feedback on that, I think it's going to happen, because this is something I don't understand why more people are not discussing. I mean, I know that, the economy and inflation and all the political divide and everything that we have is probably arguably more important than, flying saucers and green men and things like that. But it's aliens, man. I mean, it's aliens. So I got some thoughts on that, but I won't get into it in this one. I just wanted to sort of tease that it's been on my mind. I've been doing a lot of research into it, and I definitely think it's something I could discuss should I find the right avenue into it with the podcast. So we'll see if that happens. But in any case, I'll just shut up. Done with the introduction, done with all this stuff. Let's just get into the episode. I'm ready. I know you're ready. So let's just go ahead and get into it. This is my latest conversation with the wonderful Sofia Haan, all about the WGA and SAG-AFTRA strike. Here we go. Happy to have you back on here, Sofia. How's it going? How's it going?
I am living the dream. Absolutely living the dream. And I am thrilled to be talking about workers' rights.
It's pretty crazy, the stuff that's happening right now. I mean, when I had you on, obviously, for the WGA strike, that was obviously kind of the talk of the town, so to speak, and really big. But now with SAG-AFTRA kind of jumping into this and just really, I think, increasing the intensity, I think, of the strike, and then also the attention on it. I definitely feel like their joining in solidarity is like really kind of ramp things up. I mean, I don't know like what your feed looks like on your social medias, whatever you look at, but mine is just like, it's like wall to wall. I keep seeing the pickets. I keep seeing the hashtags, the solidarities, like all the different things. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot of support for it, but it's like, while it's encouraging, I think, to see a lot of the support, it also is like, this is a really uncertain time and really kind of scary, not just I think for the industry, the entertainment industry, but also just other industries across the board, specifically with labor. It's kind of wild. I mean, what have you been following on this since the WGA and SAG kind of have joined forces?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you say that like you are seeing so much wall-to-wall coverage on your social media.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like so I listen to a lot of news podcasts, and it feels like ahead of the WGA strike, there was that wall-to-wall coverage on news, and everybody was talking about like, what does this mean? What are they asking? Blah blah blah. But it feels like some of the SAG after stuff has kind of slipped under the rug, and it's not being talked about as much, which is really surprising when
Mm-hmm.
what is it, first time in 60 plus years that both of these unions
Yeah.
have gone on strike at the same time. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
And you have incredibly similar demands. Like it's a huge force to be reckoned with, but it feels like it's kind of not being talked about as much as it probably should be.
Yeah, I guess it's hard for me to say because it's pretty clear that I just follow a lot of entertainment specific things.
Yeah.
And I suppose, in a sense, I probably have purposely curated my feed to be so much revolved around that. Because, like,
Hmm.
I guess, like, on my personal social media feed, which I do have one, but it's basically for like Facebook, which I seldomly honestly even look at these days. Like, I really like the last couple days I actually posted some stuff, but like before that, it had been like maybe 2 months, I think, since I had posted anything on that. I have a personal Instagram, but I've barely touched that. Just been barely
Hmm.
looking at it. So really my lens right now through social media has been through my podcast Instagram. That's at Screen Speak Podcast. So you can go ahead and follow it on there. So
Plug.
there you go. Plug. It's super subtle. But yeah, I keep seeing a lot of stuff on it, and then I suppose as well. I think I'm taking my own active interest in looking at it because I've taken the
Okay.
steps of looking up the what am I trying to say, like the press conferences. Fran Drescher, I've been listening to a lot of her speeches. Also been listening to Duncan Crabtree Ireland, which I don't think that dude's getting enough recognition. He's the chief negotiator for SAG-AFTRA, so he's like the guy that's at the table with the AMPTP doing a lot of these, behind closed doors negotiations. So
Yeah.
he's really one of the main stakeholders that's involved with it. But I've been taking an active interest in it because
Totally.
this, apart from just me wanting to stay informed on this whole thing, I mean, I think there was a moment where I had to really figure out what side of the aisle I'm kind of at on this thing. Because I know when you and I had talked about on the WGA, I really tried to take a measured approach to it. And I'm like, I'm hearing what the writers are doing. I'm trying to figure out what the AMPTP is doing, and sort of coming up with a really, a really solid foundation and just kind of something where I can see both sides' point of view and try to meet in the middle. But to be honest on this one, Sophia, like unless there's something I'm not seeing from the AMPTP that hasn't really been out there, and granted, you won't see everything because there are media blackouts on some of these negotiations. I'm with SAG. I'm with
A
SAG.
hundred
I'm with
percent.
the WGA. I mean, I am, and like I don't want to stay silent about it because I think that's the problem is that too many of these negotiations and things like this that have happened in the past, people have not been as vocal about it, and I think the time is now to be vocal about this. And I think I've done enough homework, probably more than some of the average general citizens have. And I'm for SAG. I'm for SAG AFTRA. I'm for the WGA. I'll make that definitive right now. um,
Boom.
yeah, what the studios are doing is it's hard to kind of understand, I guess, some of the stuff that they have just either flat out rejected or come back with pretty piss poor counter offers that to me are just kind of insulting in some degree to these people. I
Mhm.
don't know. What do you I think you're for the strikes, I think. But
No, 100%, 100%. Like I was listening to a podcast about it, kind of walking through a little bit of, their demands, what
yeah.
brought us to this point or whatever. And I know when we last talked, we kind of talked about like we went through the demands and just like how blatant of a disregard the AMPTP
Yeah.
had for the writers.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's on that same level, if not even more, for SAG. Like,
Yeah.
they were talking about how there was an actress, I'm totally blanking on her name because I didn't watch the show, from Orange is the New Black, and
Hmm.
she was one of, like, the first people to talk about it, and granted, she wasn't a regular. I guess she was kind of a regular. Like, she was on pretty regularly. She, was a well-known character in the show. Got a residuals check from Netflix, and it was
Hmm.
$27. And it was
Right.
the biggest show, arguably one of the biggest shows that Netflix has ever created. And
Yeah,
she was
that
kind of
was one of
like,
the biggest ones when
yeah,
streaming was kind of first like launching and stuff. That was one of the
first
main
kicking
ones
it
you
off.
heard about. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, for all of that work, all of that notoriety, everything,
Hmm.
$27. Like, it is a slap in the face, truly. And I don't know, it just feels, and it feels like with this strike in particular, they're leaning more into, like, the AI part of it and
Yep.
what that
Yeah. Actors
translates
have an
to.
opinion on that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just seems, from the breakdowns that I've seen, it just seems so blatant from the ANPTP that they're like, we don't care about you. We don't care. We will do whatever we can to cut costs and have the smallest bottom line we possibly can. And if that comes if that comes with you not getting any money, having to have multiple jobs on
Yeah.
top of doing this, damn, don't care. It feels so blatant this time around.
It does feel pretty blatant, and I don't know. I as much as I think this is a historic time, certainly for the entertainment industry and beyond. Because, like I said, I think this is also a pretty loud cry about just labor in general in this country.
Mhm.
Granted, this is the entertainment industry, but I feel like this is going to have ripple effects over to other industries of labor. And there are other places that are feeling similar pains to this with inflation just being out of control. A lot of people that are barely making ends meet on that. And it's the cliche shit. I mean, some of this just doesn't change. It's human nature. You have your 1% that just rakes in all the money, and they're just like, I know these people make me rich and stuff, but whatever, they can have pesos and peanuts or whatever, and just they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I can say this. So some of the brief research I did to prepare for this, I'm not as prepared for this as the last one, but I don't care because I think I can talk more off the cuff on this.
Mhm.
I looked at YouTube, obviously. That's kind of, what am I trying to say? Broad. But I also read stuff from the Hollywood Reporter. Also, there is stuff from Variety. Read stuff, of course, from SAG-AFTRA, which is really, I think, where a lot of people should be spending their time if they're wanting to see this particular side of the argument and the conversation is from their actual website, which I do have it pulled up here right now. And I was planning on sharing my screen here so we could kind of walk through some of this stuff because they, I'll give them kudos where kudos is due. They are very well prepared for this. They have,
Mhm.
I think, all the necessary information on their website. It's not like overwhelming. I mean, granted, like there's some sections that are like very lawyer speak, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of clear language and verbiage on here that makes it very understandable why this is happening. And whoever put that stuff together, I mean, not that they're listening to screen speak, but maybe they are.
You never know.
I thank them. I thank them for doing a good job and putting that out there because so many times when stuff like this happens and someone that's maybe a non-union member just wants to understand it better, they could just get overwhelmed by all the
Totally.
nuance and the complexities. And I think they've done a great job so far at keeping it simple.
Mhm.
And really, the bottom line for why the hell this strike is happening from the SAG after point of view, as you said, Sophia, it's similar to the writers. Mainly, number one, they couldn't reach an agreement on their new 3-year contract that covers TV and movies. So similar to the writers in that respect. Definitely having some issues with the regulating use and protection from artificial intelligence. And then you have your overall increase in compensation to combat inflation that has largely been brought on by streamers that don't share profits from their subscription models. They also don't even share clear data. I know we talked
Yeah.
about that last time. Like, we have no idea what the viewership on this. So the residuals model just doesn't even work anymore
Mhm.
from
Yeah.
how it had worked before. And so I just think the bottom line is that the SAG after people, they're looking for fair compensation that is more um, more in line with today's business model with how entertainment is digested from people. And they, and in my opinion, I think they deserve it. I don't know if they deserve every little thing as they have outlined on there, because they're going to have to, in any negotiation, there's some places where they won't get what they want. But one thing I wanted to talk to you about as far as their sort of similarities to the writers is I got to touch on the artificial intelligence thing.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how much you know about like why the actors are kind of up in arms about it right now, but I'll just blanketly say it right now, and then we'll see what you think.
Okay.
So, if you haven't heard this, and this is for the listeners out there too, the reason why actors, as far as I can tell, are pretty up in arms against artificial intelligence is because of the background actor argument, is what I'm just going to call it.
Mhm. Okay.
So a background actor used to be known as an extra. They sort of changed the terminology because extra kind of sounded a little demeaning to those people that would get a livelihood essentially off of jumping from
Yeah.
job to job and providing that sort of work. So, the people that are in the background of like a baseball game, or, they're in a crowd or something like that. Unless it's like Lord of the Rings CGI army stuff where it's like a bunch of orcs, you're probably going to have
Yeah.
real people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the scare that the studios are kind of putting onto those working class actors on there is they're trying to say, okay, here's what we're wanting to do now. Let's say we're making a movie and it has a baseball game, like I had used before as an analogy. And instead of having you come on for a couple of days work for however long we're doing the shoot, we're going to have you come on for not even a full day. We're going to have you come on for half a day and only give you half a day's pay. We're going to do a complete digital scan of not only your image and likeness, but also your voice. And our AI models are basically going to replicate you. And then what will happen is that not only do we not have to pay you for the rest of the duration of this shoot that you could have been a part of without this, but we also will own your likeness in perpetuity, which perpetuity means forever. So essentially, that means is that great, you get a shit day's pay for a little bit of work on one job, and now I may as well be
Own
foregoing
you.
future work because now Universal or whoever it is now owns my image and likeness, so they don't need to hire me because they can just clone me and put me in like 10 different movies. Now, obviously, that's just for the background actor, but the scare I think that comes from that is going beyond that. It's like, what's to stop this from evolving to eventually, supporting performances or even lead performances in movies? I
Mhm.
mean, what do you think so far about that?
As soon as you started describing the, like, half days pay, come in, scan your likeness, I was about to ask if they, like, hold on to your likeness in perpetuity,
Oh
and then you
yeah,
said
they
it,
sure
and I was
do.
like, "That is the most Black Mirror thing I have ever heard." But it also kind of beyond to just the complete and utter outrage I feel at being at the thought of someone's likeness being able to be used and modeled and everything like that without them receiving any compensation. I feel like there's a lot of questions in that too of, you know, if you sign up as an extra, a background actor, sorry, if you sign up as a background actor to be in a baseball scene, you are saying, I know what scene I'm in. I understand what's happening here. It feels really squiggy to be like, I own your likeness, so I can apply you to any situation that I want.
Hmm.
That feels like that crosses not even just the money line of it, but a weird ethics line. Clearly, these companies don't give a shit about ethics. They've proven that over and over again. But it seems to cross a really weird line that way too, that I don't like the precedent of.
Hmm.
Um, but then my other thought with the whole AI situation, in the podcast episode that I was listening to, they were talking about how it was used in some cases for actors who have passed away. Like they gave a reference to, I guess
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher was in some Star Wars thing.
Yeah, Rogue One.
I've never seen it. Okay.
Well,
But she
Rogue
was
One, or you could argue the it's the last of the shitty trilogy, the Rise of Skywalker. That's it.
okay.
Yeah, because she
Absolutely.
she had since passed away from that, and they had implored some early uses of AI technology, and
Mhm.
and also for that matter, just in the subject of Star Wars, because I actually weirdly enough recently rewatched Rogue One. I just
Mhm.
hadn't seen it in a while, and I always felt uncomfortable, and honestly still do, of the fact that they brought back actor Peter Cushing to play Grand Moff Tarkin, who's long
Yeah.
been dead. like
Yeah.
long been dead, and they used him to not only just kind of like, it wasn't just a cameo, it's like he has scenes like in dialogue where
Yes.
he's speaking, and I'm like, you're like, that's not real.
Yeah. It feels very it feels very exploitative to take someone
Yeah.
who's long been dead. You may or may not be consulting with this person's estate
Yeah.
because might take the route that like you own their likeness. So who cares? I can
Hmm.
put him in whatever situation I want. It that freaks me out so much. Just on
Yeah.
so many levels for kind of any actor who is forced to go through that model. Like you are just getting the worst end of the stick, and
Yeah.
who knows how far it'll go with it.
Well, and like, you have to be careful with this stuff too, because what, from what it sounds like from what the studios are doing, they don't really even want the actor, whoever they're scanning or whatnot, to even really have much of a say as far as not only the payout of what they're getting for their performance, but like what they're going to do going forward with that image and scan and likeness of them and whatnot. Like Harrison Ford recently, of course, they de-aged the shit out of him in
It
the Indiana Jones movie,
was
but
so
that's but
funny.
that but that's a different situation though, because
Yeah,
he had full like buy-in for that. He knew what it was for. It wasn't something where, like, he's at a point in his career where it's like, oh, they're gonna, clone Harrison Ford and use him in 20 movies. Like, no, like
yeah,
he's 80. Like, he understood what was going on, and they leveled with him, and they were on the same page with this. This is not that. This is
yeah,
like basically being able to say, we're going to take you and then recreate future performances out of you before you even are actually giving them, which then it makes
exactly.
the argument be like, is it even a performance?
I was thinking about that too because like watching Indiana Jones,
So you have seen Indy
I
5.
have seen it. I have seen it. I'll
Okay.
be real honest. This
Yeah,
is
you
a
can.
digression. I didn't know what was happening, and I did fall asleep for a while, and that's okay. Um, but it was just like there was so much happening in that movie, and it required a really heavy level of suspension of disbelief. Like there was so many plot holes. Anyway, back on track. The de-aged Harrison Ford, it was so like
Yeah.
uncanny valley, like looking at him.
There was a
Just
few moments where it was good, like, for sure. I mean, like,
yeah,
there was a few moments where I'm like, okay, like, if he wasn't moving right now, this looks pretty good. But then,
yeah,
like,
when
if
they
he
like
starts to move
burst
too
forward,
much,
yeah.
and also
Then I'm like, oh no.
well, also, I haven't heard them blatantly say this, but I almost guarantee they purposely did that entire sequence at night to keep the cost down for that. Because I imagine it would have been a hell of a lot more noticeable if that was during day.
Oh yeah, like with shadowing and
Oh
everything.
yeah, yeah. Because like when it's nighttime, you can kind of cut corners a little bit because it's darker. It's harder to see. So I think they did
Yeah.
that purposefully.
And the
That
fact that it was
I
on a train, so it's like moving really fast.
exactly.
But but I mean, I guess back to your original question, it's looking at something like that and kind of using the Harrison Ford de-aging as the model. I think if I were to
Hmm.
watch an entire movie of a de-aged person or an entire movie of somebody's facial features being modified to fit the movie that I'm watching,
Yeah.
to create a new performance out of something else, it would be noticeable. It would
Sure.
be like you might not even recognize it initially, but it'd be
Hmm.
something about it that you're like, this isn't right. This isn't a real person that I'm looking at. I feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable. I don't want to engage with this media anymore. I don't want to watch.
My thought around just technology being used in films, and this includes artificial intelligence for that matter. This could also include like VFX, any type of computer effects, anything that's basically not human, right?
Yeah.
I'll give you my just kind of bottom line blanket statement on this, and I think it kind of covers a lot of the different thoughts that people would have on this. Um, I feel like this. Okay, here it comes.
I'm ready.
So I am not anti-technology by any means. I mean,
Yeah.
even with artificial intelligence, I don't know if you even saw, I did an episode where I had a whole interview with
I saw that. Yeah.
AI. Wild stuff. But
Great. Yeah.
it's fascinating. It intrigues me. I do get excited about the possibilities that it can bring us from a efficiency standpoint, from an ingenuity standpoint, where it can kind of take the human, right?
Mhm.
Now, when it comes to movies, if a computer effect or even artificial intelligence, a de-aging thing, like if that is done to serve the story, and this is the key point, not taking something away from the performer, the human, like taking away the actual artistry that the person employs, I'm fine. Like you
Yeah.
want to do some blue screens, you want to put in some fancy explosions, you want to change somebody's voice, if like the performer's okay with that, you want to do something like that, fine. I'm
Right.
not saying it's always right for the correct story, but if you want to do that, I don't have a problem. But where I have a problem is when you implore technology and take it to the point where you are removing the artist from what they are producing. And that I am not okay with in any extent whatsoever. I actually, I think a really good example of this, and I was going to talk about this at some point. So yesterday, I took Isola to go see the movie Oppenheimer, the
Yeah,
Chris
no
Nolan.
spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers. Don't worry. I took her to see that, and if you've been following the press for that movie or even looking at it, you'll know that Chris Nolan is one of the. I mean, he's a true auteur, but he's one of those people that just is insistent upon real, real, real as it can get.
Big
And
practical effects guy.
I'm just so happy that a movie like that is I think it's doing well. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think it's doing well. Um, but you watch that movie, it's hard to imagine them trying to even do something like that with non performers. Like if they like put in somebody there digitally or something, like the movie just doesn't work.
No.
And people, the audience, are smart enough to see that a real performance is a real performance, and it's infinitely going to be a million times more special than anything a computer is going to produce.
Hmm.
Like, it's just, I guess what I'm just trying to say is this stuff does not have a a place to replace the performer. It should not. It shouldn't even be in the ring. Like I don't
Yeah.
even know why. Like it's actually like really hard for me to understand like why there's even people that want to entertain this. It's not about just like being efficient, right? Like art is sometimes not meant to be always the most efficient thing in the world if the performer is being authentic and true. Like I don't even know if that's making sense. I
No,
don't know.
absolutely. Absolutely. And then on the other side of it too, it kind of makes you think like, what do they think, they being the studio heads, we'll say AMPTP broadly, what do they think of their consumers? Like, do they actually hate their consumers? Because ticket sales have been plummeting for a while now. COVID obviously accelerated it.
With the exception of this weekend with
Barbenheimer,
Barbenheimer.
Barbenheimer.
I'm all
But
for it. I'm all for
I
it.
no, it's like that in and of itself is like fantastic. I'm so happy to see like the amount of excitement that people have for going to the movies and the amount of
Yeah.
excitement and energy and
Double
costume.
features.
It's incredible.
And
But
I
it's like,
hang on, just sorry, real quick, because
yes,
I have to throw this in here for Barbenheimer
yes,
because I could quite literally get like on a rooftop and shout it. I'm so happy about it.
yeah.
But Barbenheimer is a case in point of one of the things I love about creatives when it's done correctly.
Hmm.
They are helping each other out. Them
Yeah,
opening at the same time is not in opposition. It helps both of them. It's
yeah.
fun. It's a fun story. They're complete opposites. They both have immense talent behind it, but they're not hurting each other. They're building from each other. They
Hmm.
can cross market each other, and it doesn't hurt anything. It's
Exactly.
amazing.
The amount of interviews I've seen from both movies of people being like, hell yes, go see both. Like,
Yes. And
like
and that's the thing. Like
actively
they're not
feeding
trying to
into it.
say, yeah, they're not trying to say like, well, don't go see Oppenheimer. Go only see
Yeah.
Barbie. No, go see it.
No,
Like support artists.
yeah, they're all like, yeah, go from one theater to the next, wear your outfits and change outfits in between. Like, go see both of them. And I absolutely adore that that's what's being
I think it's
done.
awesome. I think it's
Yeah.
awesome. And also like that's the dream honestly for like a theater is you want that crowded marketplace where
Hmm.
it's fun to have like there be like that tough decision of like man there's like five amazing movies that are out right now. Which one do I go see first? Like
Yeah, exactly.
that's what we
All of them.
want.
Exactly, exactly. And then to go back to what I was saying before is just like it's it's like the theaters actively hate their consumers. Not the theaters,
Well,
not the theaters.
the
The
studios.
studios. The studios
Yeah.
actively hate their consumers. If you're just taking away all of you're taking away the creativity and the magic of something like Barbie or Oppenheimer, like, where there's so much creative talent and people have such an emotional connection to the actors that they're
Yeah.
seeing. They're just squashing it with the idea of AI, and if they implement it more fully,
Yeah.
it's just like, "All right, here's some slop that we put together. It doesn't look right,
Yeah.
but
The
eat it up."
the
It's
AI
like
thing is I think where
so
I'm really stuck on, because it's not going to be the first time or the last that a workforce comes together and wants greater pay. I mean,
yeah,
of course, like, I'm not trying to undercut or discount the severity of the money that they're making. Of course that's important, right?
yeah,
And Fran Drescher put it very well. The contract that has been put in place, and the one that keeps kind of getting like tinkered and renewed, or kind of adjusted, which she, to great effect, says that wonderful line of like, what are we doing, moving furniture around in the Titanic?
We're not going to keep doing incremental changes on a contract that no longer honors what is happening right now with this business model that was foisted upon us. What are we doing? Moving around furniture on the Titanic?
Fantastic way of
I
putting
love
that,
that.
because it's like the entire model has changed and these big studios are refusing to just be with the times and be with the reality of how entertainment is digested now.
Yeah.
um I'm trying to think what my point was with that. What the hell what the hell were we just saying?
My
Damn it, I
head's still
lost.
stuck on Barbie, I'm not gonna lie.
Barbie. No, I actually, I really want to see Barbie. I do.
I'm
I
seeing
just
it
like,
next week.
I had to make a choice. I didn't have time to see both of them, and I
That's
wanted
fine.
to, but I love Chris Nolan. I'll
You gotta
just
do it.
I'll just say this very shortly, because I do have a podcast that I will be doing on Oppenheimer. But to
Oh,
put it just in one sentence, go see that movie.
I need to see it. I need to see it so bad.
Fantastic, fantastic.
I need to see it so bad. I need to see it so bad. I still haven't seen Asteroid City either.
I haven't seen it. Yeah,
Um,
though I might be in the minority on this. I've never been like crazy Wes Anderson like
that's
fan.
fair.
Like he's a very eclectic person, to say the
Yeah.
least. He has a very particular style in his films, and like, I mean, he always gets like the A list of the A list to be in his
Yeah.
movies, which is great. But I've just never. I don't know. Like, there just hasn't been like a many movies of his where I'm like, oh my god, like that's like incredible for
Mhm.
me. Though I do like some. I can say I feel like one that doesn't get enough credit is Moonrise Kingdom. I always
Thank
really
you.
like
It's the
that
best
movie,
one.
and I feel like nobody talks about that one, but
It's the
it's
best one.
fantastic.
So
Um,
obsessed with it.
one okay, so something else I wanted to talk about on the strikes here is just being really clear about the effects that this has. And I'm not just talking about like on the people that obviously can't work and the restrictions on that, though I do want to get to some of that, because there's been a lot of questions out there in the air of like, well, what can I do or what can't I do to show support on this? Because it's, in some cases, it's kind of tricky. Even in the podcasting world, they have FAQ on like what podcasters can
Influencers.
do. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's stuff with that, but I just want to convey to the general public here that maybe doesn't understand this. The WGA thing, maybe you didn't notice the effect on that just yet. You're just like, okay, yeah, the writers are striking, they want more money, and yeah, AI sucks, and blah, blah, blah. When you throw SAG into this, it not only takes the writer's strike, but it just amplifies that energy and volume to the point now where big movies that are in production right now, they're either going to be indefinitely put on halt, or it's possible they just straight up get canceled because they don't have the resources to film, because you have people that aren't working. So I know, like, right
Mhm.
now, Deadpool 3, which a lot of people are really hyped for, that's totally on pause right now. Can't, like, they can't do it. Same deal with Gladiator 2. The last of the Mission Impossible movies, Dead Reckoning Part 2, that's delayed right now.
Really? I'm
Yeah,
surprised they
like
didn't just shoot it all at once and then
yeah,
delay
I don't know why they
this.
didn't do that, except Tom Cruise probably wants to go to space in the final one, or I don't know. I
Yeah,
mean,
he's gotta,
he
like,
always goes.
actually go to space.
I mean,
Yeah.
he goes big. He goes big.
It was big.
But I just think it's important that the average consumer and general audience member understands that a lot of these big movies that you're looking forward to, they probably aren't going to come out for some time until this thing gets resolved. I know Warner Brothers already put out a statement saying that Dune 2, which a lot of people are looking forward to, is likely
Yeah.
going to get pushed to next year because they can't do any promotion or PR for the movie because of this stuff. And obviously that makes a big deal on the ticket sales, is all the
Mm-hmm.
hype and everything that leads up before it. It just, the effects that this thing is going to have, I think it's pretty detrimental, and we're going to be feeling it, not just as audience, but the people working are going to be feeling the impacts of this very soon, apart from them hurting for money. But I'm also trying to stay encouraged too, and just understand that this is a pivotal strike, and if they, as Fran Drescher has said, like if they don't do it now, it's just going to be something that's inevitable. Like this,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like was destined to happen, and it's going to be painful. It's going to suck. It may change certain things, but I mean, the most
But that's the
meaningful types
point.
of change. Yeah, I mean, the most meaningful types of change happen through pain and struggles and strife and hard times. And I think, as hard as this is, it's like you got to think not just about the actors and performers working now, but the future generations of them, like the
Mm-hmm.
people that are coming up behind us, as they say, like the Gen Zs and whatever the hell is behind us. Like
Yeah.
you have to think of them. Like this affects their future, not just the people right now. So, anyways, I guess where I was trying to go with that rant is that I'm just happy that they have the support that they are having right now. I myself, I'm probably going to start posting some more stuff about it too, because I realize I don't have an influencer voice, but I have a little bit of a pocket, and I think
Yeah.
I can still put some support out there and help make a difference for this. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's crazy. I want to show you, Sophia. I was going to share my screen with you.
Okay.
Thought it would be fun for the audience if we look through some of the SAG after stuff that's out there, so you can kind of give some colorful commentary to some of this stuff. So,
My favorite kind of commentary to give.
okay, let's
Speaking
see.
of, and I guess maybe it'll come up in the SAG after thing. The most interesting thing so far, I think, to see coming out of this is the publicity end that you were just talking about.
Yeah.
And sometimes, okay, I just re-downloaded TikTok after seeing the Beyonce show because I wanted to see videos. You know how it goes. And there was this person who came up on my feed. Colin, I think his name is. Just I never heard of this person,
Mhm.
and he was going on this whole rant about how he had been reached out to by some producer, and how the producer wanted him to. They wanted him to star in this thing, and they listed out all of these details, everything, and he looked directly to camera and was like, yeah, I know that the actors are on strike right now. I don't care. I will do this to get me I see exactly. Like, that was my exact reaction. I was like, you are kidding me. And he went on, he
Yeah.
was like, the word scab is really derogatory. I hate that people are saying that, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, but that's just like objectively that word is when you cross the picket
Yeah.
line like that.
It's
That's not derogatory. That's just a word. And then it was so insane because he had probably 3 or 4 videos explaining his reasoning, and it was just the most insane thing to see someone just implode their career like that, because people
yeah.
were making videos after that and they were like, dude, no one will work with you because you
Yeah.
publicly stated that you were crossing the picket line. That is
And
insane.
SAG, and we're gonna take a look at this in a second. It's funny. Oh, sorry, I can't hear you.
Oh no, you're good. That was it.
Hang on. There's like a delay or something happening. Sorry about that.
Oh no, you're good.
No, it's funny you talk about because I'm sure there are people. I haven't followed that side of the strike stuff so much, of like the people that are just like, yeah, screw it, I'm gonna take on jobs. The hell with my, the fellow
Yeah,
people that are
mortals.
struggling for this. Um, the SAG actually, and this is something we'll talk about on here. You can see my screen, can't you?
Yep.
You see this? They have a section here, report strike breaking.
Oh,
And they have
interesting.
clear stuff on their website that talks about basically what's going to happen if we see your, crossing that picket line.
Wow.
Not good. Not good. But
And
I wanted to
that's
show.
like, it's
Sorry,
what
go
you
ahead.
have to do. I was just gonna say, it's what you have to do. Like, it's one thing to, have people on TikTok being like, hey man, you're an idiot. What are you
Mhm.
doing? But then it's another to have the actual SAG after be like, yeah, all of these directors that you love and you think you're going to be able to work with, they will not work with you because they
Yeah,
see you on a list because you just blatantly like crossed the picket line.
it's true.
Oh my God.
So can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, so what I have up here, everybody, is I have the official SAG-AFTRA negotiation status document published July 13th of 2023. We looked at a similar document, Sophia, you and I did, when the WGA was doing their strike. It was kind of a side-by-side column where it shows like what they were proposing, what the AMPTP was saying. What I
Mhm.
find really interesting about this, and I can send this to you after, or you can look it up yourself, but I find it interesting that they actually put a statement here first. It's before you even get into the side-by-side, and I've read all this, and it really just kind of breaks down, simply put, basically saying, hey, viewer that's looking at this, if you choose not to look through the complicated lawyer speak on pages like 4 through 12, read the first
Mhm.
3 pages because you're going to see exactly what the bottom line of this whole fight is all about. So I really find that actually very, very, very interesting. They clearly label on this that they're talking about the minimum earnings being increased to keep up with inflation. They talk about obviously the concerns that they have with artificial intelligence, and they give more clarity to what the AMPTP is actually saying, as opposed to just saying like rejected or declined the offer. Like they're showing a little bit of statements that they've made, so that's interesting.
Mhm.
And they
Yeah.
also say right down here at the bottom, look at this, transparency. Good.
Mhm.
But if you look at this, and I'm not gonna go through all this because we just don't have the time,
Oh, here
but
we go. Okay.
if you look through this, it talks about, minimum increases. It talks about where the AMPTP is saying for their counters. There's unfortunately a lot of spots where it's just rejected or no, your offer sucks. That's stupid. Blah 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 blah. They're pretty far apart on a lot of this stuff. I'll just kind of in a nutshell tell you that.
Mhm.
Um,
I like that they're balancing both, that they're giving it in pretty like standard language, but then they're also doing like they did for the writer strike, where it was a direct side by
yes.
side comparison. I think it's super, super, super valuable to have it set up in both ways. Like your
Mhm.
readers need to understand what's going on.
Well, if anyone out there that's listening wants to understand better what's going on, visit sagaftrastrike.org. Again, that's sagaftrastrike.org. So I'm sharing the screen with Sophia right now so she can see the official website, but this is kind of what I was talking about earlier where I'm really impressed with their efforts on just keeping this simple and not overwhelming. Like even this
Mhm.
homepage is just saying, bam, we're on strike. Act now. It talks about right here where it's like, yeah, you want to see what the latest argument is, click here and you get that 14-page document that has the side by side, right?
Mhm.
And then over here, you got the picket calendar. So they're clearly organizing their efforts of showing where they're going to be picketing, when it's going to happen, how many people are going to be there, blah, blah, blah. They also have a contact center just for this strike. And I believe it's open 24 hours a day. So anybody that is either a union member or a non-union member can call in anytime and ask questions and get stuff answered outside of what's on the website. So I think that's awesome.
That's so nice.
And then check this out. They actually have a social media toolkit on here that
Oh,
has
okay.
sample posts that they would recommend you using to go ahead and kind of articulate some of this stuff. Even some of it's in different languages too. I think this is Spanish. I want to say I'm
It is
not
Spanish.
100% sure, but
It is.
then you have like Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook profile pictures that you can download and replace on there. They have Instagram story stuff. Like it's really, really well put together. And then I actually like this. I'm probably going to fill this out. Maybe not today, but soon. They have a thing I can put here to basically, if I fill this out, I'm like publicly putting my support that like my podcast is in support of you guys and like what you're
Mhm.
doing, and they can like use
Mhm.
it for future communications and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna fill that out because that seems like a good thing to do. And
That's
then they have
huge.
FAQs. They have FAQs for the
Yeah.
members about the non-members. You see, they got the section here for podcasters, which I have looked over that because I like, even though I'm not in the union, I want to make sure that I'm
You're
not
above
doing
board. Yeah.
anything. What's that?
that you're above board and everything like that.
Yeah, I want to make sure that what I'm doing, granted that I'm not on that influencer level, but I have been podcasting since 2021. I know I have a listener base, so I want to make sure that I'm not doing anything that's going to be in jeopardy in the grand scheme of things with what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, if for Sophia and the people that are listening to this, check out their website, sagafterstrike.org, and just really kind of look into it, because it's going to just pretty much spell out very clearly what the hell is going on, and how we can do more to help with that. So
Yeah. What did you learn from looking at the podcaster guidelines?
uh,
Were there anything super specific that you're like, oh, gotta readjust what I do?
Not, I mean, like, I think if I was on a higher level, I would have to adjust certain things. Like, one of the
Mhm.
first questions that they talk about on there is like, just as a podcaster, are you able to appear on like podcasts, talking about movies and stuff like that? You can still appear on podcasts and whatnot, but what's not allowed is like, I couldn't have like any union member that's an actor or writer be a guest on my podcast to talk about um any promotional work of work that's considered struck, which is something that they're trying to actively strike against.
Yeah.
They also wouldn't be able to be on my podcast to talk about like promotional stuff of things they've done in the past, so that certainly could be a challenge.
Mm.
um they have some language in here about like rewatch or companion podcasts, because if you're talking about like older
Oh
work, like
yeah.
where's the line of like what you can talk about and can't. um, and then I'm trying to think. They had something. Yeah, so they have a section on here, and this is actually where I was going to bring up the scab point. So there's a question here that says, "How does all of this apply to me if I'm a non-union podcaster?" And I'm just going to read what
Yeah.
they say right here. So it
Okay.
says, any non-member that's seeking future membership in SAG-AFTRA who performs covered work or services for a struck company during the strike will not be admitted into membership in SAG-AFTRA. So simply
Done.
put, if I violate a bunch of stuff, if I ever wanted to become a part of the union, they would not let me. And obviously that would hurt, you know, potential jobs and things like that in the future
Business.
should I
Yeah.
ever. Yeah, and I don't know if like I would ever eventually become part of that, because like I don't know if like where podcasts quite fit into the union, though clearly they have language and stuff around them because they know how many are out there.
Hmm.
So I don't know, but I can just tell you right now, even though I'm not a union member, I'm just a complete devoted, not just fan, but I'm a true believer, I think, of arts, film, entertainment, and I I mean it means everything to me. Like
No, yeah,
it
absolutely.
does. I mean, like, this podcast means everything to me. Movies obviously mean uh, a great deal to me, and I'm like, I try to imagine, like, even I don't want to get emotional, but like I try to imagine what my life would be like without some of these seminal films that I've seen in my life that have shaped my worldviews and just inspired me, and sometimes get you through tough times and things like that. And all of that's done through the tireless efforts of the performers, and not just the performers, but obviously the people that put it together. And it's like, I love this industry too much to stand on the sidelines when some serious shit like this is happening. Like, this
Mhm.
has to, like, this is the time. Like, let's fucking fight.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Well, and that's the important stance to take with it, because I feel like so many people, and I think it kind of first came out with the writer's strike, so many people were finally confronted with just how much effort goes into the things that they love, and just how much effort and
yeah,
energy and time and work create something that they kind of take for granted. You come home from work, turn on
sure.
whatever, and just start watching.
Well,
And
and sorry, go ahead.
it's the same thing. No, I was just gonna say it's the same thing with the actors too. Like, if you want to enjoy these incredible stories, if you want to be moved by somebody else's art, like, there's a person behind it. There's
Yeah,
money behind it. There's livelihoods behind it. It's you can enjoy the things that you love without understanding where it's coming from, and then supporting those people behind it. And it just kind of blows my mind when people kind of blow it off, and they're like, "Oh well, the actors are actors; they're getting paid a ton of money. It doesn't matter." It's
No,
like,
no, they're not.
no,
No, yeah,
they're not,
I'll
and
shut that shit down right now because
yeah,
I had a conversation with someone about someone recently, and like we talked. Why can't I say this? I had a conversation with someone recently. That's what I'm trying to say. And they kind of gave me that generalist attitude of like, like why does Brad Pitt need more money? Like screw him. Like he has a mansion
yeah,
in Malibu. And I'm like, okay, you have to like really kind of watch yourself on this because it's hard not to let the anger sometimes
yeah,
reach the
just
surface.
Hulk out, like
Not
scream.
every actor is Brad Pitt. Like I hate to break it to
No,
you. There are
a lot of
plenty
them are.
of well, there's plenty of people, and it's more than just again, it's more than just the movie space as well. Actors don't just work in movies; they work in television. They work on Broadway. They work off Broadway. There are voiceover actors. There's motion capture or performance capture people. Which, sadly, on that's actually something I read in all the what am I trying to say in the negotiation language. There is a spot there where they said they finally want people like an Andy Serkis who has played Gollum and stuff like that to be considered like having that be a performance. Like that is performative work. It is art, and they just flat out
It
rejected
wasn't
it.
before. It wasn't considered a real like actor
Ugh.
before.
If you I probably don't have the time to get into it on this, but I promise if you look it up, there's still debate going today over whether or not someone doing either you can call it motion capture work because sometimes it's not like a performance, it's just like physical body work. Like they do it all the time
Yeah.
in video games,
Hmm.
versus like actual performance capture work where they do have like the all the dots on the face and
The
they are
dots.
taking the emotions and putting it into a computer animated thing. There are certain people that don't feel that that's actually like true acting.
That
To
makes
that I
me want
just
to rip
say,
my hair.
yeah, no, to that I say you're full of shit. Just,
No, 100%. Like
yeah.
I've seen the videos of Andy Serkis working, and it's like you
Yeah.
cannot like look at me in my two eyes and tell me that that man is not working his ass off.
Yeah, and thankfully the people that are making the movies, they've gotten better at this of doing like the side by sides of showing like what it looks like when he has the
Hmm.
dots on versus what it looks like once Weta Digital or whatever animator comes in and touches it up. But the performance is clearly there. Like
Yeah.
it's clearly there. Like the animators don't get that without the actor. It is
Hmm.
absolutely an art. It is absolutely a performance. Yeah, I if I had more time I would go down the rabbit hole on that one too because it's absolutely acting and art. Like it's also tons of physical choreography done to get to be able to do that too. I
Yeah.
mean, like just yeah,
It's
just
so much
it
fun.
pisses me off. Pisses me off. I get mad.
That's
uh,
oh man. I did not know that that was even a
oh yeah.
part
I
of
mean,
that.
I don't think that argument has been as loud as it has been in years
Yeah.
past because I think the average person, whether it's like myself or you, most the average viewer would probably look at that as being that, but then it's always kind of an argument when you get to like award season and you're like, well, when we're putting together our short list of best actors and stuff, can we really say that the motion capture performance capture people did it? How much of that was the computer artist that made them look
Right.
good? Like there's always that tug of war battle on that, and I don't know. I don't understand why people can't see past some of that stuff, but that's just me. It's just me, Sophia.
Oh my
I think you can turn your camera back on because I'm not
gosh.
sharing my screen. We'll see if this works.
Okay. If it starts to lag again, let me know. I can turn it back off.
No, you're good. Yep,
Nice.
yep, that's fine now.
Okay.
I feel like I was like rambling a lot for this episode. I
No, that's okay.
wasn't as put together, but truth be told, the missus and I were gonna be floating on a boat later today. That's actually why I'm wearing a sun shirt. I got swim trunks on and stuff. Is
I
because
was
we're
gonna
gonna
say
be
you're wearing pretty wild pants if you weren't
yeah.
if those
No,
weren't
it's
swim
like
trunks.
swim
For the
trunks.
people listening, he's wearing bright palm trees. Looks like there's some
Yes,
fish in there.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. But no, I had a lot of thoughts that I wanted to get out on this, and some of it maybe it wasn't the most put together and whatnot. But if this one comes off, I guess more of an emotional rant on this, then so be it, because I feel very strongly about this. And if you're listening to this and don't have an opinion, or just kind of like, let it sort itself out, I don't know. I would get an opinion.
Yeah.
I would not stay silent about this. Like, if you love movies, I mean, television, I don't give a shit what you love. If you love art in any sort of form, you should not stay silent on this. This is something that,
Mhm.
as people say in certain other pivotal moments in history, you want to be on the right side of history.
100%. And it's kind of the same thing we talked about with the writer's strike of just take 5 minutes, go through their website, read up on their demands, and see exactly
Yeah.
what these people are asking. And not to sway opinion, but I feel like you'll understand where we're coming from on the side of like, we are with the writers, we are with the actors.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense why these things aren't being
You know,
addressed.
something I just thought of, and I'll see if I can articulate this and have it make sense. I think I will.
But
Um, I had never, be honest, before this strike, I had never looked that deeply into, entertainment unions, or let alone unions, that much. Like, this has been an
mhm,
education to learn about a lot of these union practices and just really what they do. I really
yeah,
never thought I'd even be a person that was like, pro union, or just kind of understanding the importance of this. But a thought that comes to my mind for this is, for actors, writers, people that are working in this industry, a lot of people understand that this is a gig-based economy, as they kind of call it, where you're jumping from job to job to job. And I don't want I don't want the industry to go back to that point where we've all heard this cliche before, where it's like you have to, work 80 hours a week and have like three part-time jobs busting tables till you get your big break. Like,
yep,
people that have talent to share, whether that's in front of the camera or behind, I don't want them to feel that financial pressure that they have to slave away for God knows how long and be fucking miserable,
yeah,
when there's money out there to be had to better compensate and back them to produce the art that they love, and can bring to other people to enrich their lives. And like, I think about someone like myself. I've had aspirations to get more involved with entertainment forever. And I think for a long, long time, I was sort of in denial about that voice in myself, that I'm like, this is just kind of crazy talk, or like, it's, that's just for
mhm,
people in California. Like, that's just for people that, can do it. Like, that's you can't get that dream. And I'm not
yeah,
saying I'm there now. I mean, I'm actively pushing to further this part of my life, and I'll see where it goes. I'm doing that through my podcast right now. But
mhm,
I just try to think, like, if there wasn't a union, and there wasn't, a strong voice out there that is talking about having there be livable wages for these people that are just, they don't like, some people are meant to do this. It's like, some people are
yeah,
meant to do this. And I just think, like, if by going through this strike, there can be some good and fair contracts that are put together on this that benefits both sides. And most importantly, and this is my point, it could encourage just even one more person to not give up on their dream of becoming a working actor or performer or whatever in an industry. Like,
mhm,
if this helps more people get encouraged to join, and understand that there is a way to make a career out of this and not have to be scared about being able to make ends meet, then that's what I want this strike to do. Because I feel like there's a lot of people like myself that have been out there before, that have kind of been on the sidelines, that are like, well, I'd love to give more to art and do more of this stuff, but I got kids to feed, I have a
yeah,
mortgage to get, and everything like that. And I'm just so tired of talented people out there having to suffer when there are studio heads and executives, and this sounds kind of like big business doesn't give a shit. But
they don't.
look at the numbers. Look at the bonuses that are going out to some of
Yeah,
these people that are at the top that claim that they give a shit. I don't know. Like, it's just, my rant on this is almost done. But it's like, when I think of whatever studio exec, I don't care if they're at Netflix or Amazon or Paramount Plus. I don't give a shit. If I hear somebody that gets, at the end of their year, $100 million bonus or something like that, I'm sorry, but what the fuck? Like
Yeah, exactly.
that. Now, I don't know what they're doing with that money, but I guarantee you most of them aren't exactly going to write a big check out to a nonprofit or give it back to their staff to increase their things. I mean, I know there's some that
Yeah.
do that. There is, but I don't know. Like to me, like that's just greed run rampant. That's like just it's disgusting. And maybe it's just because I never grew up rich, and I like it's just like I'm struggling for words right now, Sophia, because it's like I just don't even if I had that much money given to me, I don't even know
Yeah.
how the hell in good conscience I could just be like, great, gonna put that in the bank. That should tide me over for a couple months. Get the
Yeah,
fuck out of here. What are you talking about?
exactly. Exactly. It's people should be able to, like you were saying, people should be able to follow their passions and they shouldn't have somebody else's complete greed like take that away from them.
No.
It's
Like who
it's
the
just it's
you couldn't
so
even spend that
unconscionable.
much money in your life. I mean, I shouldn't say that. In in this
You
country,
never
you
know.
you can spend that money. You can buy some stupid shit, but
Yeah.
I just I don't know. I mean, I don't think I'll ever be in a position where somebody gives me that kind of money, whether it's for hard work done or a bonus. I probably will
Yeah.
never be there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it's like where the hell are your values? Like where the
Exactly.
hell like I don't know. I'd like to think if I was in a position like that, I mean, one, I wouldn't have no big mansion and multiple homes and doing all this shit. I mean, I'd probably have a nice house. I'm not gonna lie. If I had a lot of
Yeah.
money, I'm gonna get a nice house. But
Yeah.
but at the
That's
same
about it.
time, I mean, I respect people that work hard and have talent to give. I mean, like, I don't know if I got that kind of money back, I'd be like, you know what, like, sure, maybe I'll keep like 10 million myself and have like buy some badass thing, and then take this
Yeah.
90 million and guess what? I'm gonna divvy this up amongst the team and take care of
Yeah.
them because to me, like, my rant's almost done to me that's what real leadership is you are not there without the people that build you up to get you there. If you don't take care of them, they ain't going to take care of you. Like it's just plain and simple like that. You have to have some ethics and morals for God's sakes to be able to be a leader. And I don't know if maybe just some of the leadership in these studios are just so blinded by money and all this shit. But yeah, I just if I sound frustrated and just pissed, it's because I am. So
That was honestly, you said you were ranting and rambling, but I thought it was very beautifully said. Like that, all these studio heads, all of these CEOs of these big streaming platforms, that's not leadership to hoard it all for yourself.
no,
And if you think that that's what it is, like just a race to the top, you're just crushing the people underneath you. And
I'm
that,
glad
I don't know
I'm
how you
glad
could do
in
that in any
my
sort of situations.
I'm glad in my own life. I mean, I can't say I've had this a lot, but I have had a few leaders in my life that have asked me the very simple question of just what, like, like if you're having like a coaching session with somebody or something like that, it's always usually a good sign when your leader, either at the beginning or the end of it, just says, "What can I do to better serve you?"
Yeah.
That's
Simple
simple.
as that.
I mean, nobody wants to work for an entity or produce something for someone if they're not going to have their efforts be taken seriously and paid out fairly.
Hmm.
And that's something I'm really big on too. And I don't even know if it's right, but the transparency I think sometimes when it comes to money needs to be more publicly put out there. I mean,
Definitely.
thankfully we have some industries I think that do that. Like I know now maybe I'm mistaken on this, but I'm pretty sure like if I want to look up what a public school teacher makes in our county or something, I can look that up. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's true. I know there are
I'm
certain
pretty sure it's
industries,
available.
right? Same with like police officers. I can look up what a police officer makes and things like that. And I just feel like there needs to be more of that, especially with like within the entertainment industry as well. Like I should not have to guess and have this much freaking ambiguity about like, well, like I think they're doing well or like,
Yeah.
no, just come out with it and show your fucking year end earnings report and be
Yeah.
like, this is what we made. This is our profit. This is what like, what's wrong with that?
Exactly, exactly. And I mean, not to open up another whole round of
Nah,
discussion,
fuck it.
but
Fuck it. Open up just No, I have
But it's
my tactfulness. Like I kind of started this conversation. I'm like, like I'm gonna be reasonable. I'm not gonna get
yeah,
angry. Like,
reasonable.
nah, it's just it came out.
Yeah, but it's the same thing with numbers. Show your numbers. Make it a more
Yeah,
transparent space in general, not just with earnings. How many viewers are you actually pulling in? What are your shows that
yeah,
are being shown the most? And not that,
yeah,
one show should be completely prioritized over another, but there just needs to be so much more transparency across the board to make this a more open industry, because it's operated for so long under this kind of cloud of secrecy where everyone's like, well, if you know, you know, if you're in, you're in. And it's like, okay, but
mhm,
now people are getting completely shit on.
yeah.
So it doesn't really work to have someone just in the know and having it, that's for our like personal
No,
information.
I mean the way to me that a lot of this stuff should go, and I'm probably sounding very generalist and possibly stupid right now, but we'll see. That's up to you to decide, screen speakers. Okay. Um, I just think like if a company, if you have a good year, you tell your people, we had a good year. This is what we made. Here's what we're going to do with the profits. We're going to invest in future projects and work that you're doing. We're going to get more staff. We're going to give money to you. And yes, for the people that did bust their ass and do more, we'll give out some selective bonuses, but not something that's a fucking gargantuan burger of cash to somebody
Yeah,
that doesn't nearly need that much money. That's ridiculous. And then guess what?
exactly.
And then guess what? On the flip side of that, if you have a shit year, just come out with it and say it. Just be like, you know
And
what?
that's
This
fine.
year we hurt and we had to let go so and so people, or we had to
Yeah,
delay this project or that. But it's like respect your team, because if you think people don't like go behind closed doors or go at home and like have these types of conversations, you're crazy. You are insane. Like, give your fucking team some slack and understand that they're not as dumb as you might think they are. They
exactly.
people get it. They're not stupid.
Yeah. And they'll
I
go
didn't
and they'll
even God,
rise up
I
against
didn't.
you.
What's that?
And they'll rise up against you, like as we're seeing with actors. They will come out and they will stop.
Yeah.
If you
Oh, well, and have you
let
seen
them
those have you seen those comments too, where they're just like, of course, there's no names with these, which probably rightfully so, because some people would take it so far as like, we're gonna find you at your house, man.
Yeah.
But have you seen the comments where they're just like, we're gonna bleed them out, like we're just gonna wait till they get evicted from their homes, like we're just gonna wait till they run out of money.
Yeah. Yep.
Like
Bob Iger
Jesus,
was
I don't know
Bob
what.
Iger
Oh
was
God,
grabbing every mic he could find and just saying the most vile stuff.
oh no.
Leave
What
my
did he?
guy.
I haven't looked at some of the stuff he said. Like, do you know one of the
It was
things he said?
basically it was I'm gonna butcher the quote, but it was basically along the lines of like, we don't care. We well, kind of what you were saying of like, we'll bleed you out. Like, we have more than they do. Their demands are ridiculous. We don't care. I don't know. Screw that guy.
I understand. I'll say this, and then I'll start to wind this down because I'll have to get off here soon
I was
to
gonna
get
say you
on
gotta
a
get off.
I gotta get on a boat.
In the lake life.
I guess I kind of hate that it's on a Sunday though. To be honest, because it's like it just sucks because
Yeah,
I'll go do my day job and I'll be tired, but whatever. Um,
yeah.
I'm trying to think what was I gonna say, because it was a really good point, because you talked about Bob Iger.
Oh, Bob
Um,
Iger.
um,
Bleeding him dry. Waiting him out.
oh, okay, yeah, I got
We
it.
don't care. Nice.
Look, I'm a realist. I understand that certain businesses, you're not there to make friends. So certain positions, like, you have to make those tough decisions on who you're going to hire, who you're going to fire, who I'm going to give a pay raise to, who I'm not giving a pay raise to. I mean, there are difficult decisions that affect humans in business all the time. I get it. I'm not
It's
stupid.
how things go. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also understand that you're going to have these people that, for lack of a better word, are killers, and they'll push past some of that. Ooh, like, I have a family to support. Like, they can push past some of that human,
Yeah.
guilt that gets thrown, and they can see the greater picture of things and be like, yeah, like, we're gonna have to make some really hard decisions that are gonna hurt people, and sometimes that pushes people maybe into an uncomfortable place, but it puts them into where they're meant to be. So I just want to fully clear out the words on this and just kind of put that out there, because I'm not trying to just say, oh, kumbaya, and just everybody holds hands, let's just live in a communist society, everybody makes the same, everybody's like, I'm not saying that. I just be very clear. But try to convince me or try to tell me that you cannot have big corporations that have ethically minded leaders behind them that are doing work that is fair and just and correct and helping people prosper and helping businesses thrive. Like, there is a way. I maybe I'm naive on this, and I just, it doesn't matter, man. Like, if you get to a CEO chain, like, you'll get that Lamborghini, you'll become an asshole.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna believe until proven wrong that there is a way that you can still be a big shot, so to speak, and do what's right. And just do what's right.
Yeah. It cannot be this hard. It cannot
No.
be.
I mean, the same thing that, like, honestly, Sophia, the same thing could be said about politicians, and I won't go down this rabbit hole, but the same thing could be said about politicians of, like, it's super easy to say that all of them are scum. It's just a swamp. They all are bullshit and bought and paid for by lobbyists and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I'm not dismissing that. That wouldn't get said if it wasn't true to a point, because there are ones that do that, hence why it gets said. But again, if you don't have those people that are doing that and affecting change, there's so many good things that do come from that. It comes through struggle and a shitload of fighting, and I would have to have a lot of Red Bulls to get through it, to be honest. I would just like, I don't know, some of those positions, it's like the arguments that just kind of get thrown at just constantly. I can only honestly imagine, Sophia, how fucking exhausting it would be to be at the table on these negotiations for.
It'd be awful.
It
would be the worst thing in the world, the worst place.
Yeah, but I refuse to believe that we don't have people that have character that are gonna fight. You know, I kind of just ranted a lot, but whatever.
No, and that's okay.
Yeah,
it's great.
I'm definitely gonna have to put the explicitive thing in this episode. I think I swore a few times.
Yeah, who cares? Listen, if your listeners are adults, if they're babies and they're too scared to listen to someone voice their feelings.
I think I have both sides of the aisle. I got the Barbies and I have the Oppenheimers. I got I got both crowds that I think listen to this.
The amount of spectacular memes I've seen from Barbenheimer.
It is nice. There have been some good ones. I've seen some clever outfits. I saw like a person go to a premiere and like they had like half their outfit looks like it was burned in ash and like the other is like a pink neon thing. I'm like, that's cool. That's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Man. Okay. Do you have any last words? For this podcast. I mean, hopefully again, people that are listening, I mean, I don't usually come off so like, God damn it, and like, getting mad. But this is a passion episode, man. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Like, it's not always going to be clear. I let the feelings cut through on this one a little bit. I'll be more measured next time. Don't worry.
I'd say for final thoughts, pretty simple. Support the actors, support workers who produce the art that you love. If you love this art,
at the end of the day, there's not that much of a complication. You're either gonna support them and try to help figure out what they want and get it done fairly and with what am I trying to say, with moral high ground and reasoning, or I don't know, just spouting out some shit there. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's that simple. Do you give a shit about this stuff or don't you? Yeah,
exactly.
To me, if you care, you're going to stand with them. Doesn't mean, again, I'll be clear on this too. Just because you stand with them, that doesn't mean that you're, being completely oblivious to the studio. They, I'm sure, have a bottom line just like any other place does. So my final words on this would just be, if you're going to stand with them, use your social media, talk to people about this stuff, do your homework, do your research, but don't stay on the sidelines for this. And then two, I know it's hard to like take the kind of high ground on this stuff, but understand that the AMPTP has people in it too, and I'm sure maybe there's like 80% scumbags and 20% are good, but there's still the 20%.
Yeah.
So just try to understand that there's humans on both sides of this fight, and that if you're going to have any sort of resolution to this, you need them. So I realize that might not be the populist thing. That definitely kind of sounds like kumbaya, because I'm trying to say like, well, don't like completely push them away.
Yeah.
But shit, I'm just trying to be real. Like, what are you gonna do if you don't go through those studio systems and stuff? What are you gonna do? Just release stuff on YouTube and hope that people will pay to see your stuff there? Like, good luck. Good luck.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, I think that's it. So
Incredible.
I don't know.
Said the whole room.
I don't know.
Loved it.
I think what I need now is I just need to go lay on a boat and just
Not
soak
think
in the
about it.
sun. I have pretty bad
Yeah.
case of farmer's tan right now. It's not good. Yeah, it's just pale, very pale.
You know what? It's part of the summer. It's part of the summer. You got to have like a really intense farmer's tan, and if you don't, damn, that's embarrassing.
I think so. What do you have
Be
going
more
on the rest of the
embarrassing
day?
than
What do you have going on the rest of the day?
I am reviewing a show tonight, so
Ooh,
gonna
who are
get
you
to work.
reviewing?
Yeah.
Let's go.
First Aid Kit.
Who is it?
What? First Aid Kit.
Okay, is this a band?
Yeah, they're this like Swedish, like I think they're sisters, like duo.
Okay, they have an
very-
Instagram, socials, and all that.
They do. They do.
I'll plug them in this. I'll
First
plug
Aid
them in this
Kit.
episode. Yeah, why not?
Exactly. No, they're good. They had an album that was super popular, like 2014, 2015 kind of ish area.
Okay.
They've continued to release music, but I think that was kind of like their peak. I don't know. It's at the Palace, so it'll be fun.
Hey, that's where I saw M83. Shout out. I'm actually looking up First Aid. So it's First Aid Kit, right? Oh, I think I found it. Okay, so My Silver Lining appears to be this popular song at #1 on their thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it looks like you said they're sisters. Is that the deal?
Yes.
Okay.
And they're Swedish. Swedish.
I'm looking. How many? I'm trying to find their albums here. So, they have a new album out right now, the Palomino Deluxe, or it's a Child Summer.
Ooh.
I don't know if I'm saying that right. Or Palomino. That's
right.
what it is. Just Palomino.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like, how many albums did they have? Looks like they started back in 2010. That's what I can see.
Yeah.
Their first one's the big black and the blue, and then you got the Lions Roar. Then you got Stay Gold, and Ruins, and then now they did they did a tribute to Leonard Cohen. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And then Palomino. Okay. All right. If you had to describe their music in like a few words, what would you say?
Ooh, it's very choral. They have very intense harmony. To the point, like it's very, very, very tight harmony. And it's kind of on the folksier end, a little bit. It's nice. It's pretty easy listening music, but
interesting.
That sounds mean to them, but it's good, easy listening music.
I don't know if that's bad. I mean, sometimes isn't music meant to be like peaceful? It's meant to be nice.
Yeah, that's a good way to balance it. It's peaceful.
Yeah, just like don't call them like elevator music or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
Okay.
But,
well.
Yeah, that's a big thing on my horizon.
Well. Okay. Trying to think. I don't have anything else. I kind of became unglued when I started getting pissed. So.
And that's okay. You can add it in post. Give a little recorded section at the end.
I'll have to do some choppy stuff, but I will. I'll end this just by saying, Sophia, thank you for being on here. Appreciate you just being a loyal listener, I think, of Screen Speak as well. Just checking out the content. I hope you've been enjoying some of the stuff. I'll put in a couple plugs for some past episodes I did. If you haven't listened to my most recent interview with Bern Wittenben about the wide release of Reveille that comes out on August 4th, you should definitely check that out. He is an interesting cat, let me tell you. Really interesting guy. I did an interview with artificial intelligence. Yep, you heard that right. That sounds freaky, but it's the truth. It happened. Check that out. Otherwise, also follow Sophia. You can check out her on the Instagram. Did you jump? I don't know. Did you jump over to Threads? Is that a thing?
I haven't. Yeah, because I
Okay.
deleted my Twitter account a while back, and I was like,
That's probably
why would I
wise.
replace it for a good thing, like a different thing, you know?
It does seem to be exactly the same. I
Yeah, I'm good
I
enough to
think.
say either, you know? I
Well,
have
check out
quick issues
Sophia.
about
If you liked listening to her, if you're like, ah, she's cool. She knows music and likes to talk about the, you know, the guilds and everything else. Like, yeah, just you know, check her out. So
things.
all right, I'm out of gas. I got nothing.
You got to get on that lake.
I need, yeah, the lake is
You got to
calling
get
me. I
out on
can't
that
think of,
lake.
if I think of this strike stuff anymore, I'm just gonna have a heart attack. So,
For you. Yeah, you know. Exactly. Call
all right, Sophia, I'm gonna end this. So.
Do it. See ya.